Almost half of all the real-time digital payments made anywhere on Earth now happen in a single country. Not the United States, not China, India. In 1 month this year, Indians made more than 23 billion digital payments. Not in a year, in a single month. And the strange part is where this lives. Not in a bank tower, not in a glossy Silicon Valley app, but here. A 10 rupee cup of tea, paid for with a phone, a quick scan of a small square code, and a soft chime. So how did a 10 rupee chai end up outrunning the rest of the world? To feel how strange this is, go back about 10 years. India ran almost entirely on cash. The world's card networks existed, but a small shopkeeper paying 2 to 3% on every single sale could not really afford them, and the card machines were an expense most could not justify. Cash was king, and cash is expensive in its own quiet way. It leaks, it has to be counted, it gets stolen, and it keeps the poorest people outside the formal economy. As recently as the early 2010s, around half of India's adults did not have a bank account at all. So the question facing India was simple and almost absurd in scale. How do you give 1 billion people, many of them outside the banking system, a way to pay that is instant, safe, and cheap enough for a 10 rupee chai? The answer India landed on was not a better app. It was a road. Think about a highway. The government lays the tarmac, paints the lanes, sets the rules, and then anyone can drive on it, in any car they like. India decided to build money the same way, identity first, then payments, as public infrastructure that everyone could use for free. It came in layers. First, identity. India gave more than 1 billion residents a single digital ID, so anyone could prove who they were in seconds. Then bank accounts, opened by the hundreds of millions, many with no minimum balance at all. Then the mobile phone tied it all together. People gave this combination a nickname, the Jam Trinity. And on top of it sat the real piece, a payment system called UPI, built not by a private company chasing profit, but by a non-profit set up by the banking system itself. And this is the move that changed everything. UPI is open. The apps you actually tap, the popular ones, are private, and they compete hard for your attention. But underneath, they all run on the same public pipe. Money on one app talks to money on any other, instantly, for free. The government does not pick the winner. It just keeps the road open. The economists at the world central bankers bank have a plain word for what India built here. Rails. Because it was free, and because it simply worked, it spread the way fire spreads through dry grass. The vegetable seller, the auto driver, the temple donation box, the roadside vendor with a code printed on a piece of cardboard. In just a few years, more than 300 million Indians were brought into the formal banking system, one of the fastest expansions of banking access the world has ever seen. The same country that once ran on cash now runs on a quiet chime. But here's the question a good story has to ask. If it is free to you, then who is paying for it? Because nothing this big is ever truly free. The honest answer is that someone foots the bill, mostly the government and the banks. To keep payments free for small shops, the government pays out incentives every year. And in 2026, India's own parliamentary committee looked at the numbers and said something uncomfortable. The subsidy covers only a small slice of the real cost, and free at this scale may not last forever. As India's central bank governor has pointed out, a free service is not the same as a costless one. The costs are real, and somebody has to cover them. India is now debating whether its biggest shops should start paying a small fee, while the tea stall stays free. There is no settled answer yet. And that tension between free and sustainable is the real frontier of this story. And yet, step back, and the bigger pattern is unmistakable. India did not just build a payment app, it built a template, and that template is now being exported. UPI is already live in countries from Singapore and France to the UAE and Sri Lanka. More than 20 nations have signed agreements to copy India's digital public infrastructure, not the app, the blueprint. Peru and Namibia are building their own versions of it. And when the world's largest economies met at the G20, they backed a shared framework for this kind of public infrastructure, built on India's approach. Meanwhile, the richest country in the world, the United States, still settles only a small fraction of its payments in real time. The country everyone expected to follow turned out to be the one in front. So the next time you are standing at a stall in India and you tap your phone for a 10 rupee tea, notice what just happened. You used a piece of public infrastructure that most of the planet does not have, and quietly wishes it did. That is the Sphota here. The cheapest, fairest way to move money turned out not to be a clever private product, but a public road, built once and open to everyone. The open question India is now answering for the rest of us is the hard one. Who keeps the road paved, and can it stay free? If you want to keep finding the patterns underneath India, this is the place. This has been Sphota India.